Welcome to the Cody Leach Podcast, Episode 1. Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of my new podcast. This is something that I've been wanting to do for quite a while, so I figured I'd give it a shot. I plan on doing probably two or three episodes a week, depending on my time. They're mostly going to be focused on movie news. I might throw some music news here and there, maybe some video game news if there's something worth talking about. But for the most part, you can look forward to just having the weekly movie news. I'm also going to be doing a top 5 episode once in a while, hopefully once a week, where I will just pick a random topic, top 5 action movies, top 5 Metallica albums, something along those lines to talk about, just so I can kind of change it up once in a while and talk about different topics. Alright, today is going to be the first movie news episode. So the main bit of news to come out this past week was regarding the Justice League set. So Zack Snyder's directing the Justice League movie in London right now. And they had a big visit to the set that is unheard of in the sense that these movies are usually kept very, very secret and very under wraps. Now, with all the backlash that Batman v Superman got, with some people loving it, most of the critics hating it, a lot of the fans hating it, DC is trying to do one thing: damage control. So with all the fan outcry and the critics outcry about Batman v Superman, they're really trying to change gears to make sure that this universe that they're setting up and putting all this time, all this money, and all this energy into creating doesn't fail. Because right now, whether or not you liked Batman v Superman or not, I was kind of middle of the road. A lot of things I thought they did really well, even more things I thought they really slipped on. Coming off of that movie, this new DC universe has kind of a stink on it, and the stink says failure. A lot of people didn't like Man of Steel. I thought Man of Steel was awesome, but so that's 2 movies in a row out of 2 movies that have gotten mixed reviews from critics and fans. So now they're letting people go to the Justice League set. They're showing them that they are targeting a much more lighthearted, fun, dare I say, Marvel-style tone. They showed a scene that was already completed and edited together, and they also let the reporters and the journalists watch a scene being filmed. You can go online and read about the two scenes. Basically, one of them that they saw getting filmed was with Commissioner Gordon, played by J.K. Simmons, meeting up with Batman, Wonder Woman, and the Flash on top of the GCPD. And Cyborg coming in, basically them getting ready to start banding this team together to fight whatever the enemy's going to be. The other scene, which kind of they used to show that they are going for more of a fun, lighthearted tone, was a little back and forth with Bruce Wayne and Barry Allen, who's the Flash. The Flash was basically in his, I don't know if it's like a college dorm or an apartment, and Bruce Wayne comes in to recruit him, and the dialogue back and forth is definitely more of a lighthearted, playful back and forth than you would expect from what we got in the first 2 movies. It seems like they're definitely trying to listen to the fans. Now, I don't think that necessarily DC has to copy Marvel, but I think we can all agree superhero movies should be fun. You shouldn't walk out of a superhero movie thing and I'm depressed. That was really hard to get through. I don't want to go see this movie again until it comes out in Blu-ray. You know, you want something like Civil War handled a lot of dark storyline, and a lot of very dark things went on in that movie, but it was fun. It never lost sight of entertaining its audience, and a lot of people went back and saw that movie 3, 4, 5 times. So that's what they're trying to do now. They're trying to go to more of that fun tone to get everybody a little bit more excited about the new movie versus worrying about it. Ben Affleck came over and talked to some of the journalists too, and he said that basically Batman in this new movie is going to be trying to redeem himself after what happened at the end of Batman v Superman. So spoilers if you haven't seen Batman v Superman, but after Superman sacrifices himself to kill Doomsday to save everyone, now Batman in this movie is trying to be more of, the hero that Gotham deserves. There was a lot of criticism in Batman v Superman that Batman was too ruthless. He was just breaking people's necks and shooting people and blowing people up and everything, and that's not who Batman is. I liked a little bit more of the more violent Batman, a little bit more of the ruthless Batman, but as I've read more comics, yeah, that is a big sidestep from what Batman as a character at his core is. So now that's kind of their way of explaining, I guess, why he's going to be more of the traditional Batman in the Justice League, is that he's trying to redeem himself after Superman's sacrifice. They also let us know that at least one of the villains in the movie is going to be Steppenwolf. Now, I'm not too up to date on all the Justice League villains. I know Darkseid is basically the big bad, but from what I gather, Steppenwolf is basically like one of his lieutenants, I guess. We saw a little bit of him. If anybody saw the deleted scene that they released online after BVS was in theaters, there was a deleted scene that may be in this rated R cut they're coming out with, but it was basically the ship where Lex Luthor creates Doomsday. At the end of the movie, when the cops come to actually arrest Lex Luthor, they open up the ship, and Lex Luthor is down in that ooze or that water, whatever it is, and he's looking at this demon-looking thing that has these 3 devices called mother boxes. So that was kind of a post-credit scene that never came into the movie, kind of teasing where Justice League is going to be going. They're now saying that Justice League is going to be just one whole movie. They were billing it before as Justice League Part 1, and then Justice League Part 2 is going to be coming, I believe, 2 years later. You're probably still going to see a Justice League Part 2 or, a Justice League with some kind of a handle attached to it, but they're saying that this movie is one story. That's not going to be something that they're going to leave half of it off for the next one. So it's going to be a beginning, middle, and end, which is good. Ben Affleck also tried to explain more his role as executive producer. So they've been a lot of changing hands and a lot of or changing hats rather. A lot of changing hats and a lot of movements behind the scenes ever since this outcry came out from Batman v Superman. They put Ben Affleck as executive producer. They gave Jeff Johns a producer tag. He's a guy who created a lot of the DC or not created, but he writes a lot of the DC comics. They're giving a lot more control to other people besides Zack Snyder. And poor Zack Snyder too, because I'm a Zack Snyder fan. I really liked Dawn of the Dead whenever he came out with that. I think that movie is great. I love The Watchmen. I liked 300. I liked Man of Steel a lot. Batman v Superman is really the only movie that I've seen of his where I didn't walk away really liking it. And I never saw Sucker Punch, so I'm not even including that one. But this poor guy, even though he kind of made his own bed in a way, now with all these changing heads, if he manages to redeem this franchise and he comes out with Justice League and Justice League hits, everybody loves it, it makes a ton of money, everybody thinks it's way better than Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, Ben Affleck's going to get the credit. Now, on the reverse of that, if Justice League comes out and everybody shits on it, says, okay, this is just as bad or worse than Batman v Superman, this franchise is done, they're all going to blame Zack Snyder. So he's in a really shitty spot. But the way that Ben Affleck is describing his role as executive producer is that he's just working alongside Zack Snyder to make sure that the dots all connect to his upcoming solo Batman movie. So Ben Affleck's going to be writing and directing and starring in his own solo Batman movie, for anybody that wasn't aware of that. So that's what he's describing his role as, is just making sure that this movie connects to his movie and there's not going to be any weird holes or threads that don't connect. So take that with a grain of salt. I think Ben Affleck's going to have a lot more power than he really is letting on. He's just trying to be respectful to Zack Snyder. But from when all this is coming out, I do have a lot more hope for this movie. Also, they have released the synopsis for the movie, so I'll go ahead and read that. So the synopsis for Justice League is: fueled by his restored faith in humanity and inspired by Superman's selfless act, Bruce Wayne enlists the help of his newfound ally, Diana Prince, to face an even greater enemy. Together, Batman and Wonder Woman work quickly to find and recruit a team of metahumans to stand against this newly awakened threat. But despite the formation of this unprecedented league of heroes, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, and the Flash, it may already be too late to save the planet from an assault of catastrophic proportions. Everything I'm hearing about it being more lighthearted, being a little bit more fun, and they're actually listening to a lot of the criticisms and trying to course correct, makes me more hopeful. I'm just hoping it's not too late in the production for them to really make it a great movie, because Justice League started shooting I think it was 2 weeks after Batman v Superman came out, so there was already footage on the cutting room floor before all this outcry really started to take place. So we'll see. Justice League is going to be coming out next summer, I believe, 2017. So we'll hopefully get a great movie out of that. Easily the other biggest piece of news to come out this week, Star Wars Rogue One. So for anybody that doesn't know what that is the side story of Star Wars that they're going to be releasing this Christmas about the Rogue Squadron, I believe, that is stealing the Death Star plan. So this is the piece of story that sets off the entire Star Wars franchise. So the beginning of Star Wars A New Hope, the original movie, the plans to the Death Star has been stolen, and that's what causes, Princess Leia to try to get the information out, and that's what starts the whole story. So this movie is going to be about those people who stole the plans to the Death Star. Probably the worst kept secret, because everybody knew it was coming, and they would be idiots if they didn't do this. Darth Vader will return in Star Wars Rogue One. So that is awesome news for anybody who is a Star Wars fan, because Darth Vader not only is one of the best villains in film history, he's easily the best villain they've ever had in Star Wars so far. So him coming back is just going to continue on this upward swing that they are with this franchise. Even better news with that is that James Earl Jones is returning to voice the character. So if that wasn't already exciting everybody that Darth Vader was going to be returning, the fact that James Earl Jones is coming back to the original voice of Darth Vader is badass. Paul Feig, so this is the guy that directed pretty much all the big female-led comedies of the past few years. He directed Bridesmaids, he directed The Heat, and he directed Spy, and he is now coming out with this Ghostbusters remake. Paul Feig has come out saying that he wants to do a sequel to Spy. Apparently he started writing the script before the first one was even released in theaters, and his idea for the Spy sequel is that Jason Statham's character will have a much larger role, as he describes, his favorite character that he's ever written, which is strange because he's famous for being, bringing the female comedies back, but his male character is his favorite, so it's a little bit funny, but I'm not a big Paul Feig guy. I saw Bridesmaids after everybody was talking about it. I didn't quite get it. There was a few laughs there, but it wasn't really for me. The Heat, again, a few laughs, wasn't really for me. Spy, on the other hand, I did like. I didn't love it. I'm a little bit burnt out on Melissa McCarthy. I do think that she's funny, but she just kind of turns out the same thing in every movie. She always plays kind of the clumsy fat girl. And that's just kind of what the shtick that she's kind of stuck with for every movie. Spy gave her a little bit more to do. She was kind of more the badass. And the main reason that I liked it is actually because of Jason Statham's character. And I'm a huge Jason Statham fan, but that role was probably the funniest out of left field thing that he's ever done. He's always the badass, always the guy that you don't want to mess with. And then in Spy, he was just kind of like this bumbling dumbass who just screwed everything up. And it was a hilarious play on who he's known for playing. So, if he does do a Spy sequel that's focused on that character more, I think it would be cool. But I do think it's going to depend a lot on how this Ghostbusters movie comes out. So this big controversial Ghostbusters movie, if it comes out and despite all odds it's a huge hit, I think the studio is going to fast track a sequel, and I think Paul Feig's going to be stuck directing Ghostbusters movies for a little while. If it's not quite the hit that they're expecting, then I think you'll see a Spy sequel greenlit pretty quick. But we'll see how that comes together. The Conjuring 2. So when The Conjuring 1 came out, it was such a huge success. Everybody was talking about the Annabelle character in the prologue to the movie. That's the big thing that everybody took away from that movie. And because of all the fandom around that character, they greenlit a standalone movie called Annabelle. Not the best movie in the world. Now with the Conjuring 2 coming out and being just as much of a success, everybody's coming out of the movie talking about the nun character. You've seen the trailers, then you've seen the nun character. It's definitely one of the creepier pieces of imagery that's been in a horror movie in a long time. Now, with all the fandom surrounding the nun, just 2 weeks after the Conjuring 2 comes out, now James Wan is officially producing a nun spinoff. So, a fun little piece of info about the nun character. The nun character wasn't even supposed to be in the movie. When The Conjuring 2 was originally done with its principal photography, the nun character was just a demon with horns. And then a few weeks before the editing of the movie was complete, James Wan came to the studio and said, hey, I've got this awesome idea that just came to me. I really want to try it out. We need to go back and do some reshoots. I need some money for some reshoots. Most of the time, studios would have told him to go fuck himself. But James Wan, being the James Wan that he is, the main guy in horror movies right now, thank God they trusted him and said, okay, man, here's your money, go do your reshoots. And James Wan went and reshot every scene of the movie that the nun was in, taking out the horned demon and putting in the nun, which is most of the scariest parts of the movie. So that's a pretty fun little piece of info there. As far as the spinoff, I don't know. I don't recall if James Wan produced Annabelle or not. I'd like to think that if he's producing, he'll keep it pretty close to the chest and make sure that they turn out some quality, but it's going to depend on who directs it, who's going to be writing it, how fast they're going to push this thing out. It could end up being something really cool, or it could end up being on the bargain bin shelf with Annabelle. We'll have to see. Alien Covenant. So, Alien Covenant is the sequel to Prometheus. Prometheus is a movie that came out a few years back by Ridley Scott, and it was billed as the is it or is it not prequel to the original Alien. Prometheus, I like Prometheus. I didn't love it. If you watch the movie, you can pretty much tell during the whole movie that they didn't quite know where they wanted to go with it. You could see a lot of threads tying into Alien, and you could see as many holes tying into Alien where they kind of felt like they didn't want to go there, but maybe they did, but I'm not sure. And a lot of the reason why that movie didn't get quite the success that it deserved was that before the movie came out, there was a lot of back and forth with Ridley Scott, where he come out and say, okay, I'm making a prequel to Alien as my next movie. It's going to be called Prometheus, and everybody gets really excited. And then he comes out and he says, well, it's not really a prequel, it's just kind of in the same universe, and then everybody gets really sad. And then he says, well, I mean, yeah, it is a prequel to Alien, and then everybody kind of gets excited again, and he goes, well, I mean, there's not going to be any aliens in this movie, and then everybody gets sad again. So it was just back and forth. And then the movie comes out, wasn't a huge success, but whether or not you love it or not, there's one thing about the movie you can tell is that it is quality fucking filmmaking. That's a gorgeous movie to look at. And Alien Covenant is now the sequel to Prometheus, now that Ridley Scott has finally decided he wants to do Alien prequels. He doesn't want to do just kind of it's kind of there, he's committed. Originally it was called Prometheus, I think Paradise Lost, and then it was Prometheus Alien Covenant, and then now it's just being called Alien Covenant. And I think he has 2 more movies, so this is going to be the first of a trilogy, if you will, tying into the first Alien. It's going to take place 10 years after Prometheus, and they are targeting a hard R rating with what they call amped up horror. So that's pretty cool to hear. And the piece of news about this is that, kind of going back to the back and forth, they said that the main character by the end of Prometheus, played by, I believe you pronounce her name, Noomi Rapace. She also played in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and a couple of those, the 2 sequels and some other movies. But she was the main character by the end of Prometheus, and then they came out saying that she's not going to be in Alien Covenant. The only character carrying over from Prometheus is going to be Michael Fassbender's android character. And now, months later, now they're saying, well, yeah, actually she is going to be in the movie. We're getting ready to start shooting her scenes. So, Whether or not that's she going to play a huge role in the movie or not, maybe it's just a prologue where, it kind of just shows a little thread of from the end of Prometheus, and then we get into all these new characters. I'm not sure, but that is a pretty decent piece of news for Alien fans. Alien Covenant is going to be coming out August 4th, 2017. It's going to be starring, obviously, Noomi Rapace, Michael Fassbender, and directed by Ridley Scott. So, Alien fans have something to look forward to, hopefully. Eli Roth. Not one of my favorite directors. Eli Roth is very big in the horror world. So Eli Roth first came onto the scene, I believe, with Cabin Fever, a movie with a lot of good ideas and a lot of very strange execution, which is the way I'll describe pretty much all of Eli Roth's movies. He was also the director of Hostel and Hostel Part 2. Most recently, he came out with The Green Inferno, which is a movie that went through absolute hell getting on the shelves. The rainforest cannibal movie. And now Eli Roth is saying that he wants to move away from horror and he wants to direct more mainstream movies. And the first movie that he is now slated to direct is a remake to 1974's Death Wish. It's the movie that put Charlie Bronson on the map. I don't know. I've never seen the original Death Wish. I think there was 3 or 4 sequels, so obviously the first one is, a success. But it's one of them. I just never had the chance to see it. Eli Roth doing a Death Wish remake is kind of a strange choice. He just directed a remake of, I think it was either a French or a Swedish movie, but he directed a movie called Knock Knock, which was a remake. And that movie was garbage. It had a lot of good ideas again, but he has this very, very strange, corny, cheesy humor that he just kind of injects into these random scenes in movies, and it just never quite flows. It's always just a standout negative in anything that he does. So I don't know if he can move away from doing horror and be a successful director, because kind of like how I describe Rob Zombie, they have a good movie in them, but just their little pieces of their style get in the way. Eli Roth's, what I call is Eli Rothisms, just get in the way. The other part of the news is that the person who is slated to play the main character of Paul Kersey is none other than Bruce Willis. Prior to maybe 5 years ago, I would have been excited about that. The Bruce Willis that we have today does not give a shit anymore. The guy just turns out a sleepwalker, mailed-in performance almost every single time now. He does not care. He's the king of the red box right now. Every other straight-to-DVD, straight-to-VOD, bargain bin movie you see coming out has Bruce Willis's head on the back of the cover, and any movie that he has done that I've seen over the past 5 or 6 years that's made it to the theaters, he just cashes his check, shows up on set, reads a few lines, goes home. So I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be good or not. Apparently he's the one who's championing this movie. He's been attached to play the main character for quite a while through all the different changes of directors, and he's the one who is keeping the script that they currently have unchanged. So apparently he likes the script. Apparently he's passionate about it. But are we going to get Die Hard Bruce Willis, or are we going to get Red 2 Bruce Willis? So I don't know. I don't know how that's going to turn out. But they're apparently trying to follow. The Death Wish is based off of Brian Garfield's 1972 novel, and they're apparently, with this version of the script, they're trying to follow the novel a little bit more closely. Whether or not that's going to be better or worse, who knows? What works on the page doesn't necessarily work for a movie. But that's going to be a movie to keep your eye on. So Eli Roth and Bruce Willis making a Death Wish remake. We shall see. Sony Animation Studios have come out and they have announced their next 2 years of movies, including Hotel Transylvania 3, The Emoji Movie, The Star, Smurfs: The Lost Village, and the strangely still tagging along, still being made animated Spider-Man movie. Okay, so Hotel Transylvania. I enjoyed the first one. I mostly enjoyed the second one. Do we need a third one? Probably not. But it makes money. Every time those movies come out, they make a shitload of money. So, yeah, they're going to do a sequel. That's probably good news for Adam Sandler. That's always a good paycheck for him. That's about the only thing worth somewhat quality that he's turned out in 12 years. But no notes on what the story is going to be for this one, but just expect probably it's going to be, I think the last one, it was focused on Adam Sandler's daughter's newborn baby, so the baby's probably just going to be a little bit older, and it's going to have to probably deal with him being a young kid or a teenager, kind of like her story was in the first one. But Hotel Transylvania 3 coming out. The Emoji Movie. I want to write this off as being a terrible idea, but it's really hard to judge early on animated movies anymore because a lot of horrible ideas end up being awesome movies. The Lego Movie sounded like absolute garbage whenever it was first announced, and that's probably one of my favorite animated movies to come out in 10 years. I don't know who's attached to play any of the characters, what the story's going to be. This might just be something where they're just grasping for straws, trying to find a story to come up with. We'll have to see. But the Emoji Movie, look forward to that. The Star. I don't know much about this movie aside from I tried to read some of the synopsis, and it basically is going to be a animated movie focused on the very first Christmas. So that's probably something that's going to come out in the holiday season and be kind of the thing you can take your kids to while all the awards, the Oscar movies are kind of starting to flood the theaters. Smurfs: The Lost Village. Okay, I never saw Smurfs, never saw Smurfs 2. I don't regret that decision. Don't know why they're doing a third one, but they are. So, the Smurfs: Lost Village. Now, this is the elephant in the room, if you want to call it. The animated Spider-Man movie. So back whenever Sony had all these email leaks and everybody was seeing how in trouble this company really was as far as the movie side of Sony. And one of the weirdest things that they were still trying to do, they had the Spider-Man movie rights, and they still do to a degree, but they've collaborated now with Marvel to where Marvel is going to make their Spider-Man movies, and Sony is just going to basically have their name on it. We saw Spider-Man in Captain America Civil War. They've got Spider-Man Homecoming coming out, I believe, next year. So the Spider-Man's a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe now. While they were making that deal, they announced that they're also going to be doing on the side an animated Spider-Man movie. This is really weird because not only are we really getting flooded with superhero everything right now, but having two different Spider-Mans in the movie theaters is just confusing to people, and it's very strange, and I don't know why. What story are you going to tell with an animated Spider-Man movie that you're not going to be able to tell in the upcoming Spider-Man movies? Maybe it's a Miles Morales movie. I don't know if they've announced that or not. If it's a Peter Parker movie, it's very strange. Now, the only glimmer of hope in this is that Lord and Miller are going to be, I don't know if they're directing it or if they're just producing and overseeing this movie, but Lord and Miller are responsible for giving us 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, and the Lego Movie. Them putting their stamp and their style of humor on a Spider-Man could be cool. Whether or not, how much of them is going to get into the Spider-Man movie, we'll have to remain patient and see when it comes out. But I just think it's a very weird decision to have an animated Spider-Man movie when they're trying to reboot Spider-Man for the second time in 10 years. But Sony's making a lot of weird decisions right now. So, Spider-Man animated movie probably sometime in 2018. They're also announcing that they are going to be turning out some animated TV series. Ghostbusters Ecto-Force. So they're going to. I don't know if this is going to be focused on a completely different set of Ghostbusters, or if this is going to be an animated version of the original Ghostbusters. Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd, and or if this is going to be based off of the new Ghostbusters. But they have an animated TV series coming out off of Ghostbusters, which is pretty cool. I'm always a fan of things that I grew up with as a kid being reintroduced to kids of today. I do a lot of my own introducing myself with my kids. I just kind of, hey, go watch this, go watch this, go watch this. But them trying to do a Ghostbusters TV series to kind of get kids into Ghostbusters again, that's pretty cool. We'll have to see what the quality looks like, but I do like that idea. As if 3 Hotel Transylvanias weren't enough, there is also going to be a Hotel Transylvania TV series. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be the same characters or if it's just going to be kind of like when they had Toy Story, but they had the Buzz Lightyear TV series with all different voice actors. It's probably going to be something along that lines. I don't see Adam Sandler and Chris Rock and all them coming into the studio every single day to voice an episode. But Hotel Transylvania, you got a TV series coming out. And then they have Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs also coming out with a TV series. They had 2 movies. I haven't seen either one of them. I don't know if they have a third one coming out or not, but they're taking the movie franchise and making it a TV series. Bryan Cranston. So anybody that knows me knows that I worship at the throne of Bryan Cranston. I am probably the biggest Breaking Bad fan you are ever going to find. I have watched that entire series, start to finish, all 6 seasons, 5 different times. And I would totally turn it on today and start watching it again. Bryan Cranston can do no wrong in my eyes. Bryan Cranston is now set to play Zordon in the new reboot of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, anybody that grew up in the 90s knows what the Power Rangers were. They are making a new, updated version of the Power Rangers. They have so far cast all the Power Rangers with mostly unknown kids. They have cast Rita Repulsa or Elizabeth Banks as Rita Repulsa. And now they're getting Bryan Cranston to play the big floating head. I wasn't all that excited for a Power Rangers movie. Even when I was a kid, I liked Power Rangers, and then as soon as they started coming out with all the side Power Rangers, like the Neo and the Dino Force and all that, I gave up on it really quick. I only liked the originals. So that's really not, like I just said with the Ghostbusters, something that I was excited for my kids to be able to be introduced to. Power Rangers is kind of on the lower end of that scale. That being said, there is a lot of cool things you can do with Power Rangers if you do it right. Whether or not it's going to turn out that way, we're not going to know until we see the movie. But Bryan Cranston being added to the cast is a very big step in the right direction. It's never a mistake to add talent to your movie. Now, whether or not Bryan Cranston is going to have a huge role, whether or not he's actually going to be playing a floating head, or if he's going to be a walking around person, some new version of Zordon, or if they're going to be a prologue with him versus Rita Repulsa and shows, how that all came to be, who knows. But that is a very good step in the right direction. Kind of a fun fact for Bryan Cranston, his early career, he did a lot of the voice dubbing for the Power Rangers series. He did a lot of the voices for the different monsters. If you go on YouTube, you could find a few videos of the monsters that he voiced. It's actually pretty funny. But Bryan Cranston is an endlessly talented dude. We'll see what he can do with Zordon. Ben Affleck's newest movie, directed by him at least, his newest directorial movie is Live by Night. It's about some bootleggers and rum runners and all that. Now, Ben Affleck is easily one of my favorite directors of today. The guy's got 3 out of 3 movies that are just awesome. Gone Baby Gone, The Town, and Argo are all phenomenal movies. If you've not seen them, please go out and get them. So Ben Affleck, where he had just a huge turnaround in his career. He was kind of laughed at. He had Daredevil, and then he had that whole thing where he was with JLA, and he was one of those guys that you just figured, okay, this guy's career's over. And then he just kind of went away for a little while. And then he quietly came back with Gone Baby Gone that he directed. And everybody went, whoa, wait a minute. This guy's a really good director. Then he came out with The Town. One of my favorite movies ever. The Town is just fucking awesome. And that movie made it all the way to getting some Oscar consideration. I think Jeremy Renner even got a nomination for his role. Then you start seeing Ben Affleck in more movies, and the guy actually starts being really, really, really selective and making sure that he gets good roles. Then he comes out with Argo, and Argo won Best Picture that year. So everybody is just really, really waiting for his next directorial movie. Now, Live by Night has now been pushed to a January release. January 13th of 2017. The day after my birthday, hey. A lot of people are going to read that and they're going to think, oh, damn, this movie must suck. January and February are just the dumping grounds for all the shit bombs. The Taken 2s, the Taken 3s, the handheld, found footage horror movies. Any movie that comes out in January and most of the time February, you can pretty much bet that they're going to suck. That's right after Oscar season. That's right before the summer season. That's the dumping ground. So a lot of people are going to read, okay, Ben Affleck's movie is getting pushed to January. That means that they've seen it. They know it sucks. That's not good. Hold the phone on that. The only reason that they're going to be putting Live by Night in January is because they know that movie is so fucking good that they want it to be considered for the Oscars this year. Whenever they release a movie in January, okay, American Sniper did this. They release it in some limited theaters in the holiday season. It won't be anywhere near Savannah, Georgia. It'll be like, Austin, LA, Atlanta, a few of those major cities. And then they do a wide release in January. So it's technically a 2017 or a 2016 film, but it really gets a wide release in 2017. That's awesome news. That is not bad news. That is awesome news. That means that the studio knows that this movie is so fucking good. They know it's going to be considered for Oscars, and they want to get it into the Oscar race this year. So they are pushing it to January because they want to put an early release late this year in limited theaters. It's going to snag an Oscar, and then they're going to put it wide release in January, and everybody's going to go in droves to see it because they saw that it won Best Picture, or Best Actor, or Best Supporting Actor, whatever it's going to win. Hopefully that it wins. I'm just assuming. So really looking forward to that. That'll probably be my birthday present. Okay. This piece of news is not going to land on a lot of people's ears because this is one of those movies that was not seen by very many people, and it really deserves to be. Stakeland. This is a movie that came out in 2010. I think it was straight to video. I don't believe it had a theatrical release, but somehow I caught wind of this movie and I bought it and watched it. This movie, Stakeland, is one of the coolest, most original, most just quality vampire movies to come out in a very long time. This movie came out right in the middle of that whole Twilight funk where everybody was just afraid to touch vampires because Twilight had basically thrown a stink on vampire movies. If it wasn't a young adult movie, nobody wanted to touch it, and if it was a horror movie, everybody was going to assume, oh, they're just going to sparkle, I don't want to go see that. Stakeland was awesome. It was basically these two characters. There was this young kid. It's like a post-apocalyptic vampire movie. Vampires come through, and then the whole world is just kind of desolate. And it's about this young kid who grows up in this world, and he's saved whenever he's really little by this guy that he goes by the name Mister. And so it's this young kid and Mister basically just traveling post-apocalyptic America and encountering vampires here and there, and the young kid is trying to find like this mythical safe haven. I forget what they call it in the movie, but it's basically like a sanctuary where vampires haven't been yet. and the movie's about them Mister trying to get him there. That's all I'm going to tell you about the movie, because the rest of it is actually really cool. It stars Kelly McGillis in a side role. She's from Top Gun. And Nick D'Amici plays the young kid, and Nick D'Amici plays Mister, and Connor Paolo plays the young kid named Martin. Now, the news coming from this is that they are actually making a sequel to this called The Stakelander. Very awesome news for me and anybody that's seen that movie, because that movie ends very suddenly, and it really leaves you wanting to know what happens next. Now, the sequel is going to be released on Sci-Fi Channel. They released the synopsis for the movie, and it's as reads: The Stakelander tracks Paolo Martin as he finds himself alone in the Badlands of America after his home is destroyed, with only a distant memory of his vampire hunting mentor, Mister, to guide him. Roaming the wilderness of a steadily decaying country, Martin goes in search of the one man who can help him get his revenge. So, sounds pretty cool. I like that they're actually keeping the characters from it. Mister was a very badass vampire hunter. Again, if you like vampire movies, check out Stakeland. It shouldn't be very expensive. You can probably get it on Amazon. It might even be on some of these VODs, Netflix, Hulu, something like that. So check out Stakeland. Now we're going to move on to the part of the show that I'm going to try to end with every show. I'm going to call it Trailer Talk. So whenever they release movie trailers, I'm going to try to watch them and kind of give my opinion on what we have to look forward to. The first trailer that was released was Jack Reacher, Never Go Back. So Jack Reacher was a movie with Tom Cruise that came out a few years ago that was kind of a big surprise out of nowhere. Jack Reacher was kind of like a more brutal, more violent version of Ethan Hunt. He was like a military police who goes and he just investigates certain things. It's very hard for me to describe what the movie's about, but it's a very cool action movie. So if you like Tom Cruise, you like action movies, check out the first one. Now the sequel is Tom Cruise returning in the title role, and Cobie Smulders, who everybody knows from, she's in a lot of the Marvel movies as one of the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and she's probably known more famously from How I Met Your Mother. She's playing his successor in the military police, and she gets framed for something. Now, the trailer doesn't really get into the story too much. It just kind of shows Tom Cruise kicking a lot of ass, but that's what you're going for. So, as far as action, the trailer really hooks you, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do with this sequel. I really like Jack Reacher a lot, so they can only do better if they give me more of what I liked about the first one. Now, Christopher McQuarrie directed the first one, and that's kind of Tom Cruise's director partner of choice right now. He directed the most recent Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, and he's going to be directing the sixth Mission Impossible movie, whatever they title that. He's stepping down as a director for this sequel, and now he's just producing it. But Tom Cruise keeps his properties and his characters very very close to the chest, so I don't believe he's going to let anybody direct it that is going to do a bad job. So the movie's going to be coming out October 21st, 2016, so look forward to Jack Reacher, Never Go Back. The other trailer to drop was The Mechanic Resurrection. So The Mechanic was a movie with Jason Statham, where it's another remake of a Charlie Bronson movie, where basically he was a hitman who makes all of his victims look like they died of an accident. You know, he's kind of like a ghost. And the original movie had him taking on Ben Foster as basically like a student on how to be a mechanic. And the sequel storyline is that he's been in retirement and he's been in hiding since the end of The Mechanic. I'm not going to give away the ending of The Mechanic because it's a very awesome movie. Go check it out. But after the events of the first movie, he's gone into retirement. And the storyline of this sequel, Mechanic Resurrection, is that Jason Statham's character his most formidable foe kidnaps the love of his life, who is played by Jessica Alba. He is forced to travel the globe to complete 3 impossible assassinations and do what he does best, make them look like accidents. So, very basic premise, but it's a Jason Statham movie. As much as I criticize Melissa McCarthy for playing the same character every time. For some reason, Jason Statham, I never care that he's playing the same guy in every movie. They might as well take all of Jason Statham's movie and just retitle them as Jason Statham Fucks Guys Up Part 1. Jason Statham Fucks Guys Up Part 2. Because that's basically the character he is in every movie. He's some kind of an assassin or an ex-brawler or an ex-military guy who just kicks ass for 90 minutes. And that's all you want to see in a mechanic sequel, is him doing some badass fighting, seeing some pretty cool accident, hitman style assassinations. So they don't need a real crazy thought out premise. That's all you really need. Okay, a guy's kidnapped a girl, now you got to go back and start being a mechanic again. The movie stars, like I said, Jason Statham and Jessica Alba, and it also stars Tommy Lee Jones. I'm not sure if Tommy Lee Jones is playing just a friend of his or if he's actually the formidable foe that's blackmailing him. I'm not sure, but Tommy Lee Jones is awesome. Like I said before, it never hurts to add talent to your movie. So, on November 7th, 2014, Lionsgate actually had this film set for a January 22nd release of this year, but it was actually pushed back to April of 2016, and then pushed back again to August 26th of 2016. So the new release date as of now is August 26, 2016. And I'm hoping that's because they know that the movie is going to be really good and they're going to sell, versus when they had it on a January release date, which, contrary to what I said about Live by Night, if this movie was released on January 22nd of any year, that would have been a bad sign. But we'll look forward to Mechanic Resurrection from August 26th, 2016. That's all I have for this show, guys. So I'm going to post this and hopefully get some questions. I'd like to do some questions from Facebook after I post this. If you guys want to ask me anything, hopefully it's movie or video game or entertainment related, but you can ask me whatever, and I'll start ending these shows with taking a few people's questions from when I post the previous podcast. So that is all I have for today, the June 24th. And I will see you guys next time.